In this video, I'll show you how to create AI content that actually ranks on Google. This isn't about churning out 50 plus AI posts a week, hoping something sticks. That approach is dead. What works now is leveraging AI power for content generation and then combining human expertise that resonates with real people. This blog post is ranking on the first page of Google, and it was created using the exact workflow that I'm about to show you. AI handled the heavy lifting while human expertise shaped strategies, redefined the messaging, and ensured it genuinely serves our target audience. The future of AI content generation isn't human versus AI, it's human-led AI collaboration. Before we dive into the system, let me show you exactly what we were competing against. I will launch a new browser in incognito so my search history doesn't impact the results. So let's launch a new browser, and then I'm going to just search for the term, and let's have a look at the results. I'm just going to reject all, and this is an AI overview, and look at these sponsored results. 11 Labs, Just Call, Connectors, Boomi. These are $1 million companies paying significant money to advertise on this exact keyword. When big players like 11 Labs are bidding on a term, you know it is a commercially viable and has high buyer intent. Now here's the organic results. So Dalzera is on the first, and we have some questions from Quora. These are some videos. Bot Penguin, Wimpy, and here's AI Agency Plus. So this blog was posted 5 days, and it was generated using the same system that I'm about to show you. Let me show you exactly how this post is optimized for SEO and is designed to turn every visitor into a paying customer. First, look at the title. It hits the primary keyword perfectly, and notice how it immediately addresses UK businesses. Geographic targeting is crucial for local SEO. Now here's where it gets clever. The content structure follows what I call as value ladder approach: problem, solution, implementation, and then conversion. It starts by addressing the pain point: missed leads, high receptionist cost. These hooks the readers because it speaks directly to their problem. Then it delivers massive value by actually giving them a ready to use AI receptionist prompts. These aren't random generic examples. These are specially crafted for UK businesses. Semantic SEO terms are scattered naturally throughout the blog post. Google algorithm doesn't just look for your target keyword anymore. It wants to see comprehensive topic coverage using all the related terms and concepts that searches associated with your main topic, compared to the thin content that just repeats the same keyword over and over again. Comprehensive semantic coverage is exactly why this post overranks competitors with higher domain authority. And here's the conversion genius. Every section reinforces why you need a professional implementation. There's a call to action everywhere. These are not pushy buy now buttons, they are soft conversions. Get your custom prompt, free consultation, see our implementation service. So these are all soft conversions, not pushy sales. The conclusion doesn't just summarizes, it creates urgency around missing calls, losing revenue, then offers a logical next step: professional setup. This isn't just ranking because of SEO tricks, it's ranking because it genuinely solves the search intent better than anyone else. Then it naturally guides visitors towards becoming a customer. That's exactly what we're going to build with this automation. Content that ranks and converts. Let's build the automation that can compete with $1 million marketing budgets. Let's cover what you will need to follow along. The core of this automation runs on n8n. That is our workflow automation platform. If you don't already have an n8n instance set up, you have two options. Option 1 is where you go with the cloud version. That is the quickest and easiest way to get started. I will leave a link in the description below for n8n Cloud. Let's have a very quick look at their website and the pricing. Their cheapest plan starts with £20 a month, and there is a pro plan which is £50 a month. Choose the plan based on your requirements. Option 2 is self-hosted setup. If you want full control and don't mind getting your hands dirty, self-hosted version is ideal for you. If you want to go with self-hosted version, I have a detailed video on how to self-host n8n on Google Cloud. Just search for self-host n8n on Google Cloud and hopefully you will find my video on the first organic result. Here's the complete step-by-step guide to self-host n8n on Google Cloud, and look at that, 28,000 views and 1,000 likes. Thank you for all the support on that video. Your response has been absolutely amazing. This video walks you through the entire process, from setting up your Google Cloud instance to how to set up Docker, handling SSL, and everything that you need to get your self-hosted n8n instance up and running within about an hour. And while we're at it, if this video is helping you out, smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It genuinely helps channel grow and let me create more detailed tutorials like this. Right, here's where things get interesting. We need a content optimization software, and this is absolutely crucial to getting that NLP terms and semantic analysis that we talked about. There are several powerful options out there: Surfer SEO, Fraser, Data for SEO, NeuronWriter, all excellent tools. If you're already paying for any of those with API access, absolutely use the one that you've got. There's no point switching if you're happy. But here's what I personally use. I use NeuronWriter, and it's not just about the price, though the value is incredible. The tools like Data for SEO gives you raw data and stats, which is valuable. But here's the game changer. NeuronWriter doesn't just give you the numbers, it gives you a full content editor where you can actually optimize and redefine your content in real time. We are not just pulling API data and hoping for the best SEO performance. We are using the editor to polish our content before it goes live. Here's the NeuronWriter website, and if you look at their pricing starts from $19 a month, and the gold plan is $57. You do need a gold plan for API access. The gold plan starts at $57 a month on a yearly and $69 monthly. But here's where it gets insane. I've got a link in description where you can get a lifetime deal for NeuronWriter. So instead of paying $69 a month on a monthly or $57 a month on a yearly plan, you can go for the lifetime deal where you pay $267 for a lifetime plan and you get them credits every month. 75 content analysis every month, and then you can have 10 different projects, which is absolutely incredible. In this tutorial, I'm showing you NeuronWriter integration because of the editor component, but the automation principles work same whichever tool you use. The magic happens when you combine AI data with hands-on optimization. The final piece of this prereq is we have to choose a LLM model which actually creates the content for our blog post. For this tutorial, I'll be using Straco for our AI generation. This is entirely optional. You can absolutely use OpenAI, Claude, or any other LLM model of your choice for this automation. I personally prefer Straco because it gives me incredible flexibility instead of managing separate subscriptions. So here's their website. I get access to over 40 cutting edge AI models in one platform. I can test different models for different use cases and choose the best one for each task. For example, if I have a use case where I want to perform deep research on a topic and include those results in the blog, I can just use Perplexity LLM directly within Straco instead of signing up for Perplexity and managing another API key. If you do decide to go with Straco, I do have a 10% off affiliate link in the description. Full transparency, some of the links I share are affiliate links. I only promote software that I personally use and I see value in. Some of my affiliate links will actually get you discount and you will never pay more than standard pricing. Now that we've got our prereqs out of the way, it's time to start building our n8n automation. Once you've signed up for your n8n cloud or built your self-hosted n8n instance, you will land on this dashboard. This is your automation command center. You can see all your automations in here. You can see the status of the automation, if it's active or inactive. Credentials is where when you save an API key, it shows up in the credentials. Executions is where every time an automation runs, all the log shows up there. It shows you how long it took to run an automation and all the details are in there. To create a new automation, all we have to do is just click on Create Workflow button on the top right. This will give us a blank canvas where we'll build our entire content creation system. Each automation is built by connecting nodes together. Think of it like building with digital Lego blocks. Before we start building our n8n automation, let's have a very quick look at the flow that our automation is going to follow. So the first thing that's going to happen is a user will fill in a form with the details of the blog topic. So it's going to be blog title, primary keyword, secondary keyword. And once that data is collected, we're going to send that data over to NeuronWriter to analyze the blog topic and the keywords. Once the analysis is complete, we're going to get the data back from NeuronWriter with NLP terms, FAQ, content ideas. So this is all the good stuff that's needed to rank higher. Once that's there, we're going to create a blog outline using NeuronWriter's content recommendations. Once the blog outline has been created, we're going to write content for each section. To get better results, we're not going to give the whole outline to AI and tell it to write article based on the whole outline. Instead, we're going to split the sections into smaller sections, and we're going to feed that over to AI and ask AI to write content specifically just for that section. Once the whole content has been created for the blog, we're going to send the content back to NeuronWriter's content editor. This is where the magic happens, where human will optimize the content and add their own expertise. Once it's all complete, that's when the content is going to be posted on your website. We're not going with the strategy of put as much blog posts as we can and everything is automated where we don't even see the outline. That kind of blog posts are not even getting indexed by Google, let alone ranking. Next, let's go back to our n8n platform and start building our automation. The first step in any automation is a trigger. Think of a trigger as an event that needs to occur for your automation to run. In this scenario, we're going to use on form submission, but there are multiple triggers that you can use. It can be on schedule, on an app event, on a form submission, on a chat message. So there's multiple things that you can use as a trigger. But for this automation, we're going to use on form submission. Here, we're going to create a simple form which is going to prompt the user to enter the blog title, primary keyword, secondary keyword, and that data is going to be passed along to the next node. I fill the form details in here. Form title can be anything. I've set that up as SEO Optimized Blog, and then we have multiple form entries. The first one is blog title. The element type is text. The second one is primary keyword, and then the secondary keyword. So once you've entered all these form fields, just click on execute step. That will launch a form, and we will just put in some details in here so it can be mapped and be referenced further down. Here the blog title is going to be how AI receptionist prompting affects customer engagement. The primary keyword is AI receptionist prompting, and secondary keyword is AI voice receptionist. So let's just submit that, and once you've submitted, we'll see that details in the output, and we have that little pin icon on the top. We can click on that, and that will pin the data so it can be a reference further down. The next node that we're going to add is a set node. All we're going to do is we're going to take the values that was entered by user, and we're going to add that in as a variable so it can be referenced. So just search for set. We are going to map all the fields that was entered by the user. Here the first field is blog title, and to map, all you do is just drag that value from the input section over down here. The next field is going to be primary keyword. Here I'm just going to drag that out again, and the next one is the secondary keyword. Right, here I've mapped all three fields. All we do now is just click on execute step, and we have the details now set so it can be referenced. Let's pin that data. We have a blog title, primary keyword, secondary keyword. The next step in the process is to send that details over to NeuronWriter so it does the analysis and give us all the good stuff that's needed to rank. and it's going to give us the NLP terms that should be used for the headings, for the content, the questions that user asks. So all that details can be pulled from NeuronWriter. Before we make an API call, I'll give you a very quick rundown of the NeuronWriter dashboard. Here we are on the NeuronWriter. Once you've signed up for NeuronWriter, you will be on a dashboard similar to this, where it will prompt you to enter a new content analysis or optimize the content. So what we're going to do first is create a project. So just cross that out and then click on create new project. We have two different type of project. One is a project that's domain related and one is a non-domain related project. I would recommend you go with domain related project. For the domain, I'm going to add AI Agency Plus, and then next we just add the homepage URL, and then we select the default search engine. This is important if you want to rank for Google UK or Google US or any other country. You can choose that option so the content that's analyzed is specific to your country. Default language, I'm just going to leave that as English and then click on create. This will create the project for us. So if I click on the drop down next to the project, I will see that AI Agency Plus project has been created. Have a very quick look at what we've got in the left menu. We have my projects that we've seen. Content writer is any content analysis that you do, it shows up here. Management is where you can create a content plan. You can have a content management. In the next menu item is performance, where you can connect your Google Search Console over to your project. This is an advantage of having a domain related project where you can connect your Google Search Console and all the top keywords, top URL, and this is even used for internal linkings. And you can have a team, you can add multiple team members to the project. And in the settings, you can change the initial options that was entered. Here we have set our project mode as a domain related, and all the details that was entered in here shows up in here. Keyword is where you can enter all the keywords that's specific to your business or your website. AI profile is where NeuronWriter will go in and extract all the details about your business. So just click on crawl and AI extract. It has the domain already populated. Just click on crawl and extract, and it will take about a minute or two to go in and scrape all the details about your website, your social media profiles, and all that detail will be scraped and it'll show up here. So here it is. It didn't take a minute. It was pretty quick. Here it gives the details about my business. It's always good to just go through all the details that were pulled, and if you want to make any changes, you can. It checked all the services that we offer, and if there was any pricing mentioned, it would have entered that as well. So you can see all the data it has scraped about your business, which can be used to optimize the articles that you create. So here in the domains, you can enter competitors domain, and integrations is where you can integrate your WordPress in here. Once the content have been optimized, you can click on publish on WordPress and it gets published on WordPress. The final piece here, what we've got is logo in the report, and we have contact details. This is for white labeling. If you're a content agency creating content for your clients, you can use that. We can have your own custom logo and your contact details, and this report can be sent over to your client. Next up in the account, if you click on external API keys, you can add your own OpenAI or Anthropic key and use that for generating the content, but the quality of the content is not as good. It's more specifically designed for content optimization, not content creation. Here's the NeuronWriter API key that we're going to be using in n8n to make a new query and get the details back. Once I'm done with this tutorial, I will regenerate new API key. To regenerate, all you do is just click on that and it will regenerate a key. We're going to be using this key. Let me make a note of that. This was a very quick rundown of NeuronWriter. Hopefully I haven't gone too fast. Let's have a very quick look at NeuronWriter API documentation. Here we are in the API documentation. It gives you a very good detailed rundown on how you can get your API key and how do you use the API key. New query is what we're going to use to send the details over to NeuronWriter to do the analysis for us. So what we need for that is we need the project ID, we need the keyword, we need the engine, and we need the language. The way that you get your project ID is once you're in the project, if you You will see the project ID in here. So anything after view is the project ID. So just copy this field after view before optimization. So just copy that over and save that onto a notepad so you can use that further down. Here we are back on the API documentation. So we need the project ID, we've got it, we've got the keywords, we know the engine that we're going to use, and we have the language. Next step is to make a HTTP request over to NeuronWriter using the API key, project, and keyword, and let it perform the analysis. Now we will go back to n8n workflow and make a HTTP request to make an API call. Here we are back on n8n. The next module that we're going to add is going to be a HTTP request. And the method is going to be post. Here's the URL that we're going to use for the post method. We just have to append it with the API method. The API method that we're going to use for the HTTP call is going to be new query. So we just copy that. That's the base URL, and then it's going to be /new-query. The authentication is going to be a header authentication. So just click on generic credential type, and we just click on header authentication, and we're just going to click on create new credentials. We need the header name and the value. To get the header name, let's just go back to NeuronWriter API documentation, and if I go further down, we'll see an example that we can use. So here an example, and the header name is going to be x-api-key. I'll copy that and paste that over, and the value is what we're going to get from our NeuronWriter. So this is where we are in the profile section, and that is the NeuronWriter API key. So let's just copy that over and then paste that in. So there's two ways of doing it. First is where you set up an authentication and that key gets saved, or you can add the API key direct in the headers itself. Here I'm going to give this a name so I can reference that later, and we'll just save that. Credentials were successfully saved, and we should be able to use this in our request. The next header type that we have to pass for this API call is going to be accept and content type. Let's just copy that over. So I'm just going to tick this box to say send headers, and the name is going to be accept, and the value for that is going to be application JSON. Next one, let's just copy content type. The name of the key is content type, and the value for that is going to be application JSON. Next, we're going to send the body. So just tick this box where it gives you an option to send the body fields. We're going to leave the body content type as JSON, and here we're going to pass the project ID. So this is the project ID for the body. We'll just copy that, paste that over. We've copied project ID before from the URL, so I'm just going to paste the same project ID that we've copied before. The next item that we're going to add is going to be keyword. Just copy keyword from here, and instead of manually typing the keyword, we're going to map the keyword field that was sent by the user. The next option is engine, and that will be google.co.uk. Okay, next one is going to be the language, and that is English. Just copying and pasting the details from the example that we have. Let's have a very quick look at this before we click on execute step. We have the method set up as post, we have the URL, and we've added the credentials, and here's the headers. We have accept, content type, body type, and we are passing project ID, keyword that was mapped from the entry that user has entered in the form, and we have the language. We are all good, so let's just click on execute step, and this will create a new content analysis in NeuronWriter. If I go back into NeuronWriter and click on the projects, we will see that this was just created using API. So AI receptionist prompting, that is the keyword, and you see that the action is still processing. It takes about 60 seconds for the analysis to complete. Let's just pin this value so it can be referenced further down. Next step that we're going to add is going to be wait. So we're going to wait for about 60 seconds before we check. Here wait amount is going to be 60 seconds, and then I'm just click on execute step. And after adding the wait step, we are going to add a new HTTP request. This is where we're going to get the values back from the NeuronWriter. We're going to add a HTTP request, and the method is going to be post. For the URL, we're going to enter the base URL plus the API method. So here it's going to be post, URL is going to be this / get query. Authentication, because we've added the authentication, all we can do is we can reference the same. So here's the authentication that we've added. Here we're going to add the new headers. So to get the details for the analysis, all we have to do is just pass the query ID and we will get the analysis back. So let's do that here. We have referenced here the value is going to be query, and for the query ID itself, we're going to map that from our previous module of the HTTP request. So this is the query ID for the HTTP request that we've made before. So we're just going to map that in here. And if you click on execute step, that should okay, here's a mistake where I've added that as a header. We have to send the query ID as a body, not as a header. For the headers, we'll just add the accept and application JSON. And the new header is going to be, the second header is going to be content type and application JSON. For the body, we're going to send the query ID. ID is where we're going to map that from our previous HTTP request. Now if I click on execute step, we should get all the values back, and here it is. Let's pin that data so it can be referenced further down. Next, let's use the set node to map all the values that we've received from NeuronWriter. To do that, just click on the plus and it's going to be the set edit field. And here, these are all the data that we've received from NeuronWriter. So let's have a quick look at see all the categories that we've got. Okay, so starting with ideas, we have suggested questions, we have people also ask, we have content questions, and then we have all the different websites that are ranking for that specific keywords. I believe there's about 30 of them. And then here's the recommended word count for the blog, and here's all the terms that should be used for title, for description, H1, H2, and the content. I'll start with ideas, suggested questions. I've mapped everything that was received by NeuronWriter, and let's just click on execute step, and here we are, and we see everything that's been mapped, and we'll pin that data as well. At this point, we have all the data that we need from NeuronWriter. What we will be doing next is we're going to pass all the data over to AI and create a SEO optimized blog outline. To do that, just click on plus, and we have multiple AI models in here that you can use. The best one that I found for content generation is Claude Sonnet 4. So if you want to use Anthropic, just go into Anthropic and sign up for an account, and you can get the API key and use that. If you plan on using anything else like Google Gemini or OpenAI, you can use that as well. It all depends on your preference. For this blog, I'm going to use Straco, which offers multiple LLMs. Here's the website for Straco, and they do offer over 50 leading models, and the credits that you get, it can be used for text, images, video, text to speech. So it's like a one platform where you sign up and get the credits, and them credits can be used for any LLM. I already have an account set up. To get an API key, all you do is just go into user settings and API key, and you will see this page in here where you will see your main API key, and you can create a new API key as well for a specific project. Here's the API documentation link that we will be using to make an API call. I am going to create a new API key. I'll just name that as a YouTube demo and save, and this is the API key that we're going to use for this demo. Let's navigate back to n8n and add a new Straco node. So here we are in n8n. I'll just click on close, and it's going to be Straco, and this is Straco's official node for n8n. So click on that, and here we're going to choose create a completion. Already have an account set up, so I'm just going to create a new credential so I can walk you through it. Here all we do is we just add the key that we've created before. So if I go back into Straco, and this is the key that was generated, we're just going to paste that in here and then click on save, and you can see that the connection test is successful. One thing that I found for Straco node is the models doesn't show up in the drop down. I expect a drop down in here where I click on it and I can choose a model of my preference, but for some reason that doesn't work. We are unable to choose the model from drop down. We will be using an expression to add the model. To get the list of all the models that Straco offers and the ID, I'm going to make a quick HTTP call and get the list of all the models that they've got. So for that, I'm just going to click on add another trigger, and it's going to be a manual trigger, and we're going to add a HTTP node after that. So HTTP request, and here's the Straco's documentation and the model, and here's the get model. The good thing here is it gives you the curl, so all you can do is just copy the curl and paste it in here, and that will populate all the fields that's needed. So we've got the get request with a URL, and all we have to do here is replace this with a Straco's key, which is this one. Let's copy that over. I'll just paste that in and execute step, and here's all the models that they support, and here's the model name that we after, Anthropic Claude Sonnet 4. So let's copy that, and if I go back into our automation, and here I'm going to just add the model name, which is going to be Anthropic Claude Sonnet 4. And to test the connection, let's just send a hello and see if we get a response back, and we didn't. It needs to go in double quotes, and it is Anthropic Claude Sonnet 4. Just as a test, I'm going to send a hello message to make sure that we get a response back, and here's the response back from the Claude Sonnet 4. Okay, that's amazing. Now that we know that the connection is working for Straco, the next step in the process is to add a prompt. What we're going to do now is we're going to replace the message that we've sent as a test message, change that to expression, make that a full screen, and I'll copy the prompt over. Here's the prompt that we're going to use to create the blog outline. I will briefly go through the prompt so you know how to structure your own prompt. Here we're giving it a role to say you are an expert in creating SEO optimized content. We're giving a primary objective, giving it a content specification on the tone and the voice. We are specifically mentioning that the output needs to be in the markdown format, so we can create content individually for each section. Here we're going to map all the fields. So for the title, we're going to get the title from the variables that we set from the user form submission. So the blog title is going to be this, and we have primary keyword, secondary keyword, And here are the SEO optimization variables that we got from NeuronWriter. The first thing that we're going to map is title keywords, and this is the title keywords variable. Let's map that. The next one is going to be the description keywords, and then H1 keywords, and H2 keywords. We're even going to add some content ideas so AI can create a blog outline based on the suggested questions and other stuff that was recommended by NeuronWriters. This is all the fields that we've mapped. Again, this is not a setting stone. It depends on a specific use case, specific business. Your prompt will be very different to the prompt that I've written in here. Let's come out of here and click on execute step. This should create a blog outline. Here's the content that was generated by AI based on NeuronWriter's recommendation. So what we're going to do is we'll copy that outline, paste it in a notepad, and have a quick look at the outline to see the quality and how detailed it is. Here's a notepad. I'll just paste that through, and straight away you can see that the outline that was generated by AI is not a random AI fluff. You can absolutely see that it does target a specific target audience, and it does follow all our recommendations. So you see that this is a H2 and these are all H3s. They are bullet points. So when we pass this outline over to AI, it's going to create the content based on this outline, and is going to be optimized based on the NLP terms that was recommended by NeuronWriter. The reason why I am not passing the whole blog outline over to AI and asking it to write a detailed blog is you're not going to get a content which is very detailed if you just pass this whole outline over. We're going to split each H2 into individual sections, and we're going to pass that over to AI and ask it to write the content just for a specific section. Next step in the process is we're going to use a custom code node where we're going to split each section that was created so it can be given to AI to write the content. Let's go back, just click on plus and search for code. The code node that we're going to use is going to be a JavaScript. You definitely don't have to be a dev or an expert coder to write this JavaScript code. We just have to know what we want to achieve and give that detail over to AI, and AI will write the JavaScript code for us. Let's just understand what we want the code to do. We just want the code to split everything that starts with hash. Let's put that in words and send it over to Claude and get our custom code. I'm just going to bring up Perplexity and write a prompt in here to say create a JavaScript code for n8n that takes the markdown content, cleans special characters so it doesn't break the JSON. That's one of the things that I've noticed from experience. If the JSON has any special characters, that breaks the JSON. And the main thing that we want the code to do is we want it to split the content at level 2 headers using hash. I'm going to change the model to Claude Sonnet 4.0. I have Perplexity Pro account and I have an option to change the LLM in here. If you don't already have a Perplexity, they are doing a special offer for PayPal users. I've created a post in my school community other day to say there's a 1-year free Perplexity deal for PayPal users. And if you haven't joined my school community yet, please do. We have about 162 members so far, and we are growing and we are sharing information, so you will know about the latest deals, AI trends, anything to do with AI, no code solutions. Yeah, do go in and claim this deal using this link, and you will have Perplexity Pro, and you have an option to choose a LLM of your choice. Let's give that over. This is going to take a bit of time. I'll come back once we have an answer from Perplexity. Here's the JavaScript code that Claude has given us. Let's give that a try. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to just delete the code that was there, just paste that in. We're going to map the content from the last module. So here's the content. Let's just click on execute step and see if it works. No, it didn't. Okay, so it is very common to get errors when you're giving prompts to Perplexity or any LLM model. The main thing that you have to learn is you have to keep giving more information and ask AI to troubleshoot. So here is what I've done. The best thing to do is you can just take a screenshot of the error message and pass that on to say like, this is the error I'm getting. So back and forth, and finally we have a JavaScript code that works. Let me type that in here. Let me quickly show you the code. Here is declaring a constant, and this is the input that is coming from the last module. And here's a simple function just replacing special characters, and here is where the magic happens, where we are using a regex expression to split based on hash, and we're saying if there's an extra hash next to it, we're going to ignore that. This is the code, and let's click on execute step, and here is the sections that's been split in an array. We're going to pass these multiple sections onto split module and feed that over to AI to generate content. Let's bin the data, and the next module that we're going to add is going to be split. What this split module does is it takes the array and it splits it into multiple objects. Let's drag that in there, and then let's click on execute step, and this has been split. This is section 0. Next step is loop over all the items that is sent by the split out module. Search for loop over items. The batch size is going to be 1, so just click on go back, and it just says replace me. This is just a placeholder module. All we do is just click on plus, and again we are going to use Straco to create content for the sections as well. So I'm just going to search for Straco, and it is going to be create a completion. Straco account is already there, and here we have to change to the expression, and let's just copy that from our previous node. So this is what we need for the model selection. We're going to use Claude Sonnet 4 for creating the content as well. So for the prompt, I'm just going to click on expression, expand that, and I'll paste the prompt here. Here's the prompt that we're going to give to AI to write the individual sections of a blog, starting with the role and then primary objective, guidelines, and structure. We do want the blog content to be in ATX markdown format, so we're just saying that. The scope, SEO and NLP terms, so you can see the detailed prompt that goes into creating a blog that is optimized and which ranks. Here we have the details of the placeholders. This is where we're going to reference the detail that was provided by the user and also the NLP recommendations that we've got from NeuronWriter. Let's map them fields. Here for the section input, we're going to get the details from the split out module. So we're just going to drag that over here. And then next we're going to give it the primary keyword, which is from the user's input. Next up is the secondary keywords that the user entered. And here we're going to give the NLP phrases and entities that we've got from NeuronWriter, which is the second set module in here. Here's the term content basics. So we're going to drag that on, and these are the optional extra ones that NeuronWriter suggested that it's good to have these terms in the blog as well. We have completed all the mapping, and now it's time to execute step and see the content that gets generated for that specific section, so we can map and reference that further down. Here's the content that was generated for that specific section. So we can just go on to JSON and we can copy the section again, and we'll have a look at the content that was written. So here's the notepad, and I'm going to paste that on. Here's the content that was written for that specific section. We can see that it started with a H2 and it's written the content for subheadings as well. So that all looks good. Let's pin that output so it can be referenced further down. The next node that we're going to add here is a wait node, because sometimes there is a limit on the API and we don't want our automation to break by hitting the API limit. So we're just going to say wait after each section, wait for about 30 seconds. So let me briefly explain what's happening here. So the sections that go broken by our JavaScript, it gets passed on to the split out node, and that gets split into multiple objects. And we're going to loop over each section. We're going to write the content for that specific section, and we are waiting for about 30 seconds so we don't hit the rate limits for the API. And once the loop is complete, we want to aggregate all the sections together. So here we're going to search for aggregate, and we're going to map the Stracos content section in here. This is the individual section that was written. If you click on execute step, you would see that it is executing the previous step and is going to aggregate everything together. This might take a while because I've added 15 seconds wait after each section. So we'll just wait for that to complete and I'll show you the output in here. And here it is complete, and here we see the whole content in here for each of the sections. So this is section 0, section 1, section 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the whole blog has been written, and I can see that it is quite detailed blog. So let's pin that data as well. And now let's use a set node as we've done previously and add the whole blog into a set module. Next one is going to be set, and let's name this as full blog, and I'm going to drag the whole of the content in here, and let's execute step, and we will see the whole blog content showing up here. Next, we're going to add a markdown module, and here it is. What this does is it converts HTML to Markdown and vice versa. So we are here converting Markdown to HTML, and let's map that in here as well. If I click on execute step, here's the full blog in a full HTML format. The last step in the process is we're going to send the whole content back to NeuronWriter where it all began, and there we're going to analyze the content, we're going to optimize it, we're going to add our own expertise before posting the content over on our website. We're going to add a HTTP node again, and HTTP request. The method is going to be post, and let's go back to NeuronWriter documentation. Here's the NeuronWriter API documentation page. Let's have a look at the method that we're going to use to send the data back to NeuronWriter content editor. Let's go further down. There's list and get, and here's the import content. So this is the API method that's used to send data back to NeuronWriter content editor. So for that, we need the base URL, which is this. Let's copy this over. Let's go back to our n8n, and the URL is going to this / and it's going / import content. So let's just copy that, paste that back here. For authentication, let's just choose what we've already set. It is going to be NeuronWriter API key, and let's have a look at the headers that we have to send. So here's an example for updating the content editor, and from here we can see the headers that we have to send is API key, which we are doing as part of the authentication, and we need to send accept and content type. Here just click on send headers. The name is going to be accept, and the value for that is going to be application JSON. The next header is going to be content type, and the value is application JSON again. Next, we'll be sending the body. The first field that we need to send is going to be the query ID, which is the one we're going to get for the initial HTTP request that we've made to do the content analysis. So this is what we're going to map, and the next field is going to be the HTML content, and this is the one that we're getting from the markdown node. The mapping is all complete now. Let's have a quick look at our NeuronWriter project. So this was the analysis that was done, and we don't have anything in the content editor yet. So let's click on execute step, and this, we see that the output status is okay. And if I go back to the NeuronWriter content editor, we have a couple of issues here. First is the content editor doesn't display the content that was pushed through API real time, so we have to refresh the content editor to see the content. And the second issue that I see is we don't have a proper HTML formatting in here, and the reason why is I've missed a critical step in the workflow, where if I look at the markdown, I see that everything is wrapped around P and everything is squished in. To fix, we'll go back into the edit node and add a join. This way the content is going to be formatted in a proper way. I'm just going to click on execute step, and this will execute the workflow, and the formatting now is going to be right. This should have fixed the formatting. Now I'm just going to pin the data so it can be referenced for the next step. Next, I'll unpin the data for the markdown, and I will run the execute step again. So now this should get fixed as part of the new run. And here's the output. I can see the difference straight away. Instead of putting everything in p tag, I can see h2 in here, and this should fix the issue that we had. Let's pin this data as well. I'm going to rerun the HTTP request node, and this should fix the issue, and we should have a proper formatted blog in our NeuronWriter content editor. So let me just click on execute step. Here is updating the content onto the NeuronWriter. Once this is complete, we'll get back to NeuronWriter and check to make sure that the content is properly formatted in a HTML format. And the execution of HTTP step completed. I can see the status is okay. Let's go back to NeuronWriter. This was the content that was there before. Let's refresh the page and see if we get a proper formatted content this time. Yes, it is. So we can see that H2, H3, the content is properly formatted. I'm going to just copy a heading and paste that over in here now. And as you can see, NeuronWriter does have an option to create an AI generated title based on all the keywords. We'll do that for the description, and it will generate a description for us. This is the description that was generated. Let's save that. And here, let's add a H1 with a title, and straight away you can see that the score for the content has gone up to 55 just by adding the H1. The next step in the process is you go through the content, check what's covered, what's recommended, what's overly used. So anything in the red, you can see that here receptionist was used 91 times and the recommended is 35. I'll try to get that down to about 50, no more than that. So it's just about going through the content and seeing what's been overly used and how we can optimize it and use the terms that's not been used. Let me quickly go through the content editor so you know the functionality and the powers of NeuronWriter's content editor. Here we have an option to auto insert. If the content doesn't have the words that was recommended by NeuronWriter, you can click on auto insert terms and it will go in, it'll scan your content and it will give you the recommendations of where a specific term can be inserted. Here's the content suggestions. You can have a look at the suggestions that the NeuronWriter gave and you can accept and it'll auto update the content for you. The next option is it does recommend auto internal links. This is a really powerful feature. You do have to integrate your Google Search Console for this. See what terms your website is ranking for and which page needs an internal link. So this is a very, very powerful feature that many people overlook. I'll give you a very quick rundown of the editor itself. So obviously we've done the save. You can import, you can export the content. Here's the menu where you can generate the schema markup language. You can check for plagiarism. You can check the SERP and competition. So if I click on that and if I click on the competitors, it shows everyone who's ranking for this specific keyword. So I can see that Dialzera is ranking first and it shows their blog outline that they're using. So this is very important for search engine optimization, where you can see what your competitors are doing, how their blog is structured, and you can kind of get inspiration from them and improve your blog and add additional topics. If you think that someone else is covering that topic and your blog doesn't have that topic covered, you can include that in there. I don't want this video to be in-depth NeuronWriter tutorial, so I'll stop here. If you're using NeuronWriter, obviously you can go in and explore. There's a lot of tutorials and a lot of videos on NeuronWriter. You can explore and get on grips with it. It's very easy to use interface. Next up, let's go back into our n8n automation itself, and here I'll briefly go through what we've done and how you can improve this workflow. One of the things that I do for my customers is, when you're creating a blog for a specific business, all the blogs are not the same types. It could be that one blog is for research, one is a how-to tutorial, another one references their internal documents or is more specific to their business itself. So what you can do is, to implement something like that, you can just add additional options in the form itself. Here we can have an additional drop down option to say what is the blog type. For example, if it's a how-to blog, it can follow a specific path, and if it's a research blog, you can add a switch node in here and have similar things, or a very different kind of flow where you have a perplexity node which goes in and does the research and gets that stats in the blog. Or another use case is, if you would like to create a blog that's more specific to their business based on their documentation and their expertise, you can add a RAG node in there. So the content that's generated is not generic content, it's more specific to the business. It shows the expertise. You can even reference their case studies and the projects that they've done, any achievement that they've received. So all that gets included in the blog. And that's where the value of such an automation comes in, where it's not a random AI fluff. It is more customized towards a business. And here you have it, a complete system that combines NLP content optimization, n8n's powerful automation, and human expertise to create SEO content that actually ranks. This isn't about cranking out more content. It's about creating a sustainable, scalable process that drives real results for your business. Now, here's the beautiful part. Once you understand how everything is configured, how it all works, you can swap NeuronWriter for any optimization tool of your choice. Whether that's Surfer SEO, Data for SEO, or anything else, the system architecture remains the same. You can also swap our current Straco node with your choice of LLM like Claude, OpenAI, Gemini, or other providers like OpenRouter that gives you similar capabilities. My goal with this video wasn't just to give you another template to stack up with all the other ones that you might have collected. If this deep dive approach helped you understand not just the what, but why and how, please hit that like button. It really helps YouTube algorithm know that this content is valuable. And if you're serious about mastering automation and AI for your business, subscribe for more detailed breakdowns like this one. I would also love to hear from you in the comments below. Let me know your feedback, your questions, or any challenges implementing. Seriously, you can check my other videos. I do read every single comment and I reply back. Your engagement is what shaped this channel's direction. I am Asif from AI Agency Plus. We help small businesses with AI and automation. If you're a business owner looking to implement AI and automation in your business, feel free to book a discovery call with me. Link is in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.